Almanza, operations manager at West Coast Mortgage Group. I do a wide variety of things. I work very closely with Robert, the owner, in line with the company's business plan and the direction and the growth that is a part of that plan. I oversee various functions that feed into that. I'm heavily involved in our post-closing, our closing. I work very closely with our warehouse banks, with PG operations, with the fulfillment part of it. I am very involved in overseeing our quality control program, which is a huge piece that doesn't get talked about a lot and that sort of functions in the background. But is critical. It's important to me to, when we're solving problems, that we're looking at different departments and looking at how things tie in. It's very interesting in this type of work in this industry, because often it's just not one path. There are so many people touching alone that we often are looking at this team focused approach. And so that's a huge part of what I do.
Nicole, as you're describing this, it's like you are just, operations is such a critical, it's hard to say that there's a most important part, but as somebody who's, getting to peek into various companies, it never ceases to amaze me how critical operation is and how very unappreciated it is, and not out of a place of malice, but out of a place of ignorance, right? We really don't understand the behind the scenes, the Swiss watch, interconnectivity of what has to happen behind the scenes in order to just basically tell time, and so that is what I think of when I think of operations managers, the operations team, the people behind the scenes who are plugging along and making things happen so that the loan originator can look like a star, so that the escrow can close on time, so that the buyer can feel really excited about moving in to their new home, or the refinance is accomplished. There's so much that happens. So thank you for being that person that conducts the orchestra and makes everything run smoothly. Paul and I were chatting a little bit about West Coast Mortgage Group, and he was talking about how much he admires your initiative to be a diverse team, to have a team that is reflective of the community that you serve. So I'm curious about your point of view on that, specifically to the industry.
I think it's just a value to be inclusive of other ideas. And it brings in added value that you get people's experiences, you get a variety of input that you may not if you're just looking in through one lens or to one group of people.
I love how you just said that, because you called inclusivity a value. You said that it is a value, and then as you are exercising and practicing that value, now you are adding value. I'm curious about your point of view on that, because you're adding value to your team, so internally, but you're also adding value to the consumer, to your community. So tell me a little bit about that.
I go back to this other lifetime of mine, prior to the mortgage industry, where I did a ton of work around multicultural education. And I think, it was really important to me to sort of recruit people to help me understand the culture of the group that I was going into to speak to, because we can take information and process it a certain way, but it's processing based on where we come from and what we've experienced. It's important. So when you're talking about consumer facing or just working with people in general, it's a huge value to have an understanding of where that person comes from and have a connection to how they are processing their experiences. So in business, I think it's critical to understand that, to establish that authentic connection.
Yes. So you're speaking to this part where you're saying, we have the information, we have data, we understand the importance of diversity and equity and inclusion. We know that it's a need. We know what it means. If we don't, there's a lot of information that we can ascertain and learn about. But you've taken it to that next level of taking action, of really including people in your team that are reflective of the community that you serve, not just for purposes of inclusivity, which seems to be a total no-brainer, but also that creating equity and creating the ability for your understanding, but also for them to be able to grow and to participate in the industry in a way that they perhaps hadn't had the opportunity to do so. I'm curious about the team atmosphere that you are creating, the feeling that people have when they work with one another and when they serve the community that you serve. What is that like at West Coast Mortgage Group?
The first word that comes to mind is fun. It's fun. It's great to get a group of people together. And, now with remote working, the reach is so much greater. And, getting a group of people together who are from all different backgrounds and different places and different experiences to sort of focus on the same goal and the same end result, it's really fun. That's how I would describe it. It's of course it's hard work and there's a lot of learning and learning about other people. What I see at West Coast is it happens very naturally. I don't think it's like this, okay, well, we're going to, what you just said, we're going to create this environment and we're going to do that. We don't sit there and talk about it. We just sort of do it and it comes naturally and it's fun. It's fun.
I love that. I love it so much because you are really, we're having this conversation and I'm thinking of Access Lending Academy and I'm thinking of our learners. And I know you have onboarded or are onboarding a learner that is a graduate. They're going through that internship program and they're going to be graduating very soon and land with you guys. And as you're talking about culture and the initiative to be inclusive, the initiative to create more room at the table, to have a team that's reflective of the community that you serve. That's an initiative and that's a strategy. You kind of put that out there, but the execution of it is very much, rolling up your sleeves and just participating with one another. It isn't achieved through spreadsheets. It's achieved through saying yes to people who are more diverse, to create more inclusivity. What I'm hearing you saying, you're not doing it for anyone. You're doing it because this is part of your value proposition. Inclusivity, back to what you had said earlier, is the value at West Coast Mortgage. And then it's just fun. It's hard work, but it's a culture of having fun. And you create culture by doing things together. So I'm curious about this initiative to say yes to Access Lending Academy and to see Access Lending Academy as a natural sort of puzzle piece that just fits into the value proposition that you already have.
It really is natural. What I feel like what Access has done is just, it's almost like, where did this just happen? I mean, it just happens so naturally, and it's such a natural fit, and it makes perfect sense. It just makes sense. I think what Access has done is taken what we already knew, and Paul with his innovation and reach, just able to really formalize it and say, this is the steps we're going to take to ensure that these things happen in our industry, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's very natural. Easy decision, easy progression.
Yeah. It really is interesting, because when we look at Access Lending Academy, everyone who participates in it, all of our industry partners, we look at it and it's a little bit like, why is this so brand new?
Mm-hmm.
This should have been here all along. But to your point, if it's natural and it's easy, and easy is not to say it's not a lot of work, but it's this growth, and it's this agreement to say yes to diversity, to say yes to a culture that is inclusive, to say yes to that American dream that we all participate with in this industry, that we're saying that more people deserve to be part of that, and to have access through the education, and then to have access to industry partners like West Coast Mortgage, where they can participate in the culture, shape the culture, and be part of something that is a really vibrant and long career that is achievable for really anyone who wants to participate in the lending industry. So yes, I agree. It's easy, it's natural. So to the point of participating in the industry, one of the things that I think about, I grew up in Europe. So we take education very seriously. There's a whole program. You go into an industry, you spend a lot of time learning that industry and learning the skills you'll need. I want to hear from somebody who's seasoned like yourself. What does it take to become proficient, to become excellent at what it is that you do in the industry? Does it require someone who has all of the bells and whistles, all of the things figured out with education wise, or is it really just an industry where you need a little bit of support, some mentorship, good skills, and then just learn as you go?
Yeah, I mean, the education helps. I'm a big believer in education, and reading as much as you can on something that you want to learn about, getting your hands on all the information you can, reaching out to people who have that knowledge and have that information. I believe in that, and I do that. It's hard work. It's simple. It's curiosity, wanting to learn, finding something that you're interested in, and you tear it apart and you learn everything you possibly can about it. From beginning to end, you ask why, you ask questions. I look back on some of the questions I've asked that have stuck with me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the person on the receiving end was probably like, what in the world, but that's just how you do it. When there's nobody else around, you just ask, you dig in, and you put your head down, and you work hard, and you have fun. You've got to have fun. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, you've got to take a step back and kind of reevaluate, because this industry is tough. It's really, really hard work, and it's ongoing. It doesn't end. There's no end to the amount of work that needs to be done, and it's extremely detailed. Mistakes are made, and mistakes cost money, and there's so many little things, but it's the willingness to learn, the willingness to do a good job, and just really enjoy the hard work. I mean, it's pretty simple. And I think this crosses, across any industry. I think if you talk to anyone who's been around long enough, maybe started from the ground up, will tell you the same thing, that get up even when you don't want to do it, you got to keep going. You got to just keep going and keep learning and keep pushing.
I appreciate you, Nicole. Thank you for taking the time on a busy day for you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I really, really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit. Your culture I will not stop smiling for the rest of the day. What the emphasis that you're placing on fun and authenticity and hard work. It can't be overstated how important it is to show up and do the best you can and be willing to learn and get better. So thank you very much. You're inspiring.
Thanks, Bianca. Have a great
day. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye.